Hi everyone, welcome to our project analysis series. I'm Brian and today I have my new partner, Kenneth.
Hi everyone, I'm Kenneth.
We will be talking about this very interesting project that will be previewing in 4th of July, and that will be our Lentor Gardens Residences. A lot of people will be asking, oh wow, there's another new plot in Lentor. Will there be an oversupply issue? These will be the topics that we'll be touching on. And actually the oversupply issue may be your opportunity for Lentor. So this is the content that we'll be going through today. These are some concerns that our buyers will have with the oversupply issue, about the exit plan, and is it a safe entry price for Lentor Gardens Residences? And also we'll be touching on about rental, because a lot of people will be asking, so many Lentor units, will my rental be affected? Will there be people who really want to rent at Lentor? And we'll definitely go into the project information so that you can have a glimpse about what Lentor Gardens have to offer, and also the layout analysis. So this is our QR code for our WhatsApp. If you have any questions, just scan this and text us and we'll be happy to answer your questions. So this concern number one, oversupply, how to exit. So as you can see, right, for Lentor, we have quite a number of plots that's being released. And so to be honest, there's a total of 4,015 units. But from Lentor Modern all the way to the last launch Lentor Gardens Residences, there's only less than 26 units left. And now, the brand new supply will be our Lentor Gardens Residences, about 499 units. So this is something that I think Kenneth will share about, because we are also on a very special timeline, because we are the first development that has the 4 years SSD.
And so something actually big happened last year in July 4th, 2025. The government announced the extension of the SSD holding period from 3 to 4 years. So you can see that from the stamp duty, if you sell within the year one, you need to pay 16%, 12, 8, 4 of your selling price. What does it mean to you, especially Lentor Gardens? What you can see in the whole Lentor Gardens, currently there's total 8 plots that is being bidded already. Now we are on the 7th plot. The 7 and the 8 is the one that is affected with the new SSD 4 years. And so what does it mean? It means that the previous 5 plots, they are the 3 years. And the first plot, Lentor Modern, has already TOP and already started transacting.
People can start buying already. But you look at it, even for Lentor Gardens Residences, we are actually the first plot that is in the new SSD period. And even for Lentor Central Residences, by the time they can actually sell, the buyers will be at 2028. So we are not really affected by the 6 plots that were released much earlier.
In a way, they would have cleared to sell them.
Definitely, man.
By the time this TOP, those trying to sell, they would have sold it already.
Definitely.
So what are the concerns buyers have, and what is a safe entry price? I think a lot of people have concern because there's a lot of units there now.
I'll touch on this because, first of all, right, we need to go back to the land bidding. This particular plot, Lentor Gardens Residences, is bidded by Kingsford, and they won the land bid by $920 PSF, PPR. So this is actually one of the lowest land bid for this whole entire Lentor estate. Just recently, I think Guaco actually bidded for Lentor Central GLS next to Lentor Modern. It's about $1,278. Look at the price difference, it's about 39% difference there. I don't know, for some of you guys will be like thinking, oh wow, this is going to be really cheap, or the next price that you're going to pay for Lentor Central will be a lot more expensive. But I will share about this particular scenario. So if you look at this, sometimes land price doesn't really equate to sale price. So you look at it, I think you have heard of this project called Jadescape near Shunfu. It's bidded at $791. Then we have Affinity at Serangoon, the one that is in future going to be pretty near the Serangoon North MRT. The price is significantly higher, about at least a $50 difference. But the reality to be told is that the launch price for Jadescape is at $1,007 and Affinity is only $1,575. Developers buy the land cheap doesn't mean they have to sell cheap. But I will go deep into the details about the behavior of the developer. So Kingsford behavior, to be frank, I think a lot of us will know them because they did a lot of projects in the past like Kings Porter Bay, Kingsford Hill Peak, Tron Park, and Hill at One Knob, and so on. Their last recent project is at Marina. It's the One Marina Gardens. They do have a tendency to increase price. They have a few ways of doing that, either during the launch day or post-launch increase of price. So now with the knowledge that the Lentor Central land bid is a lot more higher, and Lentoria's highest transaction is at $2,670, I think the developer will be in a position to think about how they should price the product. Because if they price too cheap, then of course the profit margin is not a lot. But if they price it too high, then maybe they have a harder time to offload all the units. So I think based on what we see right now on Kingsford's behavior in the next few launches that's upcoming in the OCR or even RCR area, I think it's best that they actually offload it early. So as a consumer, it's best to buy in the initial phase, okay, even the project is unsubscribed. So right now, I want to give you a glimpse about Kingsford behavior during the Chuan Park launch. So Chuan Park, if you look carefully at the data, during the launch day, those who bought the 3-bedroom at 1227 square feet, they were transacting at about 3.256 million, which is a PSF of about 2,654. But however, if you look at February 2026, recently they were transacted, the PSF obviously went higher and the price is about 3.309 million.
On the lower floor.
It's on the lower floor. Then after that, now in the balance units that's in our inventory, right, at level 6, the price is around 3.254. So all you can see is that why this particular jump, the difference is not a lot. Because I think for this particular floor size, there are still balance units. So for them to price it in this way is to really encourage the offload of this unit. So during Chuan Park launch, I was there with some of my colleagues. It's quite interesting. They actually increased the price for about up to 5 times. So there were buyers who buy the 2 bedrooms on the actual launch day. Most of the 2 bedrooms are also, if you look at the transacted caveats, they will have different prices. So that is something that I feel is one of the behavior that the Kingsford did for the Chuan Park launch. So now, the next project that they had is the One Marina Gardens, that is OMG lah. This is their first product that is in the prime area. So what happened is that during the launch day in April last year, a very high floor unit, level 20, was sold at 3.05 million at the PSF about 2,870. I think it's a very good PSF because you are at Marina and this price is almost close to some of the OCR projects that we've seen recently. But there are still quite a number of balance units for this Stack 24. And you can see that the prices is tapering from lower floor to upper floor. So this kind of strategy is what you can observe. During the launch day, the higher floor was sold at a much cheaper PSF. Now after that, they increased the price. The lower floors, right, are starting to see a higher PSF as they move up the floor in terms of loading. So now, this one will be quite interesting because on launch day, someone bought a very high level at 28. The PSF is 2,899 and the price will be about 3.58 million. But right now, because this particular stack is sold very well, because this stack 17 is facing the Gardens by the Bay, MBS, unblocked view, maybe during National Day, you can see nice fireworks. So because of this, this stack has a strong demand. When they have a strong demand, what you can see is that right, the lower floor unit that is in the inventory, the asking price is 3.27 million. In other words, the price jump is about 100 over K differences. So this is also one of the behavior that Kingsford had, is that they sell it lower in terms of PSF during launch, but they don't increase price during the launch day. But over time, they increase the price 1 or 2% in different phases so as to really offload the units later.
So what's the safe entry price for Lentor Gardens? While we're talking about this, I think this just came out a few days ago. The cheapest unit going to start from $2,050 PSF, but we estimate average should be about 2,350 PSF.
So this is the news that's just fresh from the oven because we were expecting that maybe Kingsford, this is their last chance in Lentor to make a kill. We were expecting 2,100, 2,200, but at $2,050 at Lentor, I think this price is really very attractive.
So before we go into the analysis, do scan the QR code to reach out to me or Brian.
We come to this particular chart, it's quite important how to determine the safe entry price for Lentor Gardens Residences. So this particular table, we have the land price and also the transacted price. So what you can see here is that the land cost for the earlier launches were quite close. I think the highest land price was Lentor Modern, which is an integrated development that has the mall and integrated to the MRT. And during launch day, their price range was about 1,837 all the way to 2,513. So that is the range. But one thing you observe along the charts is that the prices, right, were all quite close to each other. And back then also, because they know that every 3 months, every 4 months, there will be another Lentor launch, most of the developers, they want to keep the price quite close to each other so that if they raise the price too high, then of course the earlier launch will see the units offloading quite fast. So they try to keep the price within a comfortable range that the consumers can actually go for. But one thing you observe or not is that even though they have the highest price, every launch you have the opportunity to come back to a lower price again. So this particular phenomenon will likely be replicated, right, in Lentor Gardens because we are starting at $2,050. So the price range, I will say that Kingsford definitely will not go back to 2-3 years ago highest transacted, because in order for them to have a good profit margin in terms of the high construction costs and labor costs, they will definitely want to do something around a 26xx or even 27xx. But what does it mean for the consumer is that you have the opportunity to come back towards here. And you have the opportunity to come back towards the sweet spot. So today, if you are a consumer thinking that, oh, actually I don't mind Lentor, I don't mind this particular vicinity near Ang Mo Kio or even Shun Fu area, I would say that a sweet spot, let's say at 1,300 to 2,400, right, is also a very good entry PSF range for you. Because if you look at it, most of the earlier buyers for earlier projects, they have already hit 2.4, 2.5 and 2.6. So that's where I think that the sweet spot still is very palatable for the consumers.
In a way, you got a good price protection already.
Definitely. And also, just as we mentioned earlier on, this particular development that's going to come is we call it LG8, the 8th plot. 1,278. It will be needless to say that they will start at 2,000, then they will try to heat it up to 2,009. Because at this price, in order to break even, they cannot sell too cheap. So I think for this, we know that by buying Lentor Gardens, you have a good, strong price protection.
Because it's the lowest
left bid, but we are sure that they will also fall in a good, comfortable range.
So what are the concerns buyer will have? Because a lot of people will talk about there's so many units there, the rent is low. Sometimes you just need to think about it. You cannot get the best of both worlds. Sometimes if you want good profitability, the rent may not be that amazing. Or if you want a good rent, the profit might not be that well.
We have a lot of clients who tell us that, okay, I want to buy a development, it must also have high rent. It must have also a high profitability in terms of capital appreciation. But a lot of times when we buy property, not every property will have this kind of feature. So that's an important thing that most buyers need to understand. So for example, if you buy a property that is of high rentability, you actually don't have to really buy during launch day. Because even you buy tail end, you can still hold on for next 4 years to collect rent. But then for those who are really buying for own stay, buying for capital position, actually it's quite important for you to buy right from the start, because that will give you a good entry price, a good profitability over time as the property value goes up.
So when we talk about rent, I'll give you an example. We have Uptown on Affinity. So Uptown is a 2 minutes walk to MRT station. Affinity is not. You need to take a bus.
How far? What, 26,
You want to walk,
30
yeah, at least
I will
26
definitely
minutes
not walk there.
So because of this, if we take a unit that's similar in size, okay, they were purchased on launch on 2021. A similar size unit was purchased for Affinity at 1.4 and then Uptown was 1.5. Because Affinity is much further away from the MRT station, it does not command a higher rent as compared to Uptown. When it was sold, you can see that the Affinity command a higher price. I would say higher profit. It's a good example. You don't get the best of both worlds.
I think it's a very good example where we see that the entry price for Affinity was slightly lower and the difference in terms of the capital appreciation is a lot more higher. But in terms of rent, I think that's not the most favorable rent, because if you look at it, the rental yield is only 3.5% versus a 4.2%.
So we have another example here, Forat versus Evira. So Forat is not near to MRT station. Evira is in the River Valley area, close to quite a few MRT stations.
About 5 MRT stations. It's very, very convenient. It's at River Valley and it's a freehold project. But both are freehold actually.
And because it is in River Valley area, you can see that the rental for Evira is at 6,001.
Wow, that's very high actually.
And Forat, the rental is 4,005. Purchase price, you can see, is around the same price, slightly higher. But when it comes to sale, you look at the profit, it's substantially lower.
That's why sometimes best location places may not be something that the population or the consumers will look into when they want to buy. How capital appreciation works is always about how the next buyer appreciates your property. Despite that both are freehold, one area seems more superior than the other for certain buyers. If they want own stay, they want an environment that's not so busy and bustling, they will choose maybe somewhere that's not very near MRT. And you see, for Floret, right, the capital appreciation is quite strong. The owner actually earned about 300 plus K compared to Evira that's 100 plus K.
Right into the Lentor Gardens project information. So this is a project with 499 units and also 3 commercial shops. There's 314 car park lots on the lower basement and 88 on the upper basement. So in total, you have about 80% ratio to the units,
which is not too bad. Now I'll go to the site plan and also the unit mix. And then when you look at this particular site map, what really caught your attention?
I think it's definitely the pool. It's looking super super huge. I think it take up like more than 1/3 of the whole site.
I think this is something that we were quite like amazed when we saw the site plan. Because Kingsford also did Normanton Park, has a lot of pool as well. And right now at Lentor Gardens Residences, they had a very big pool that's all co-joined together that looks like a big fish. What I like about this project is that if you have a kid who's inspired to be an Olympic swimmer, you can just jump into the pool anytime and to train. I think
It's bigger than the Olympic pool.
from one end to another is about 200 meters. They also have 75 meters from one of the end, and 50 meters that pool is this area here, which is really good. But one thing I think when we went for the show flat briefing, the developer said that they feel that water feature is very important for home shui. That's why they inspired to have this water feature. Also, the consultants that did up all the water feature design had it from the Nigeria 4 aspiration. So it's a very nice pool facility. But the important thing is that in the whole entire Ang Mo Kio or Lentor, we are the only development that has the largest water body feature right now. Then also one thing that I want to share as well is that you look at site plan, we mentioned earlier on, this particular northeast sector has the biggest frontage to the Hillock Park. Hillock Park is a park that is mandated by URA that will be protected, so nothing is going to build there. So most of those residences that gets these units facing here will have very nice park view. And over here, those who are facing the southwest, they'll be facing the teachers' estate as well as the landed enclave. Here's the unit mix.
So you can see from the unit mix that about 50% of the units are 2-bedroom, and then the rest will be 3, 4 terrace and shops. So I would say it's a very balanced unit mix because you don't have 1-bedroom. People who buy here are mainly for, I would say,
own stay. Even you buy for investment, 2 bedrooms, I think it's a very safe buy and rent out and eventually sell. Okay, because we do a lot of projects. For myself, I've been to projects where 30% or 40% of the development is one bedder. So one bedder, sometimes they buy, they rent. Maybe I buy at 1.1 million. But after 5 years, 10 years, there's no demand for it. I sell back at around 1.15, 1.2 million. The profit is not a lot. Because of this, when a development has more one bedder, the volume of transaction is lesser and the price did not pick up. Now with this development that has about 50% of 2 bedrooms and their 2 bedrooms is minimally 2 bed, 2 bath, I'm quite confident that the volume of the prices will go up over time.
So now we go into the layout, and I'll start with the 2-bedroom layout first. This is the 2-bedroom premium. It has the 646 as well as the 678 square feet layout. So what you can see here, the difference is the 646 is a galley kitchen. As for the 678, it has
enclosable kitchen.
So if you can do a sliding door here if you want.
And it maximizes the space as well. You look at the walkway, they also erected like a small study space. I think a lot of walkways in some of the Lentor developments don't have such a feature.
The next one, we have the 2-bedroom feature with the storeroom. We call it home shelter or storeroom. I think this is a very good layout that I prefer because the dining area is
enclosed to one side, tucked into one side.
There's a wall here, so you feel more like a space specifically for a dining and not out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And the storeroom is very useful in today's context.
Indeed. So if it's young couple, they need to store a lot of stuff. Some of them are like maybe sports enthusiasts. You want to put all the things inside here. But I think one thing that we want to share also is that the earlier layout, we have the 678. The top up to 689 is not a lot. So right now, you top up a little bit more, you will get a home shelter. I think that's something that is worth considering because the price won't be more than 70 to 80,000. I think that's something that is really worth thinking.
We have the 2-bedroom plus study, 732 square feet. What you see here, it's the additional study area. You have different layout. It's just the orientation of the study room as well as the depth of the study room. But the price difference for 732 and 689, it can equate to about 100,000 difference.
The jump is about 43 square feet. Then let's say average price about 2122. You can range about 100 to about 120 difference. So you have to decide whether the extra study area is important for you. Because if you get the 689, it has a home shelter already. But if you really want to study, then this particular area can be useful for you. And if you look at it, for this 2-bedroom plus study, the 732 has a lot of stacks to choose from.
Our top choice is the 2-bedroom, the 689 square feet layout.
With the home shelter. I think this is something that really has a lot of utility and a lot of usage for the consumers.
But having said that, it's only 30 units of this.
Because this particular stack also is the one that faces the Hillock Park. While the rest is not too bad also because it's pool facing. So you can also think about that. Now I'll go to the 3-bedroom layout. Before that, scan the QR code for me and Kenneth. If you have any questions along the way, we're happy to help you guys out with that. The 3-bedroom, the first one that I want to talk about is the 3-bedroom deluxe. We call this the 3-bedroom compact lah. So it's about 872 square feet, but it doesn't have the aircon latch counter inside. It was a harmonized project. But when you look at this over here, the kitchen does have a window and also windows for all the bathrooms. For cross air ventilation, this particular layout is very good. Then as you enter, you have a small foyer and you have a nice living area that can hold about 6-seater. Then your entertainment area all done out nicely. But this particular stack, the C1, has a pool facing that is also facing the future GRS that's going to be sold. There's only about a good 15 units lah. It's not a lot. I believe for those who are a little bit on a budget constraint, this will be the unit that they will eye for. Now, the next one will be your 3-bedroom deluxe plus study, 936 square feet. Even as a 936 square feet, I was wondering how can this have a study? Because when I was doing launches in the earlier days for non-harmonized, 936 usually doesn't have room for study. But this time round, they have a study that is here. So this study can be used as your maid's room or even your storeroom or a real study. I think this is a very flexible kind of design. But one thing I also want to highlight about Lentor Gardens Residences, which we didn't mention earlier on, this project is a non-PVC project. Means that most of the walls, you want to hack them, you can do that. So you can reconfigure the layout that you want. I think this is something unique in Lentor itself because most of the projects are PVC, so they build super fast, like Lego stacking up on each other. But this is really quite good. And this one also, they only have 15 units, so it's really first come, first serve. Now, next unit type that we have is a 969 square feet, the 3-bedroom premium plus study. So this one, both of them are all dumbbell layouts. They have different orientation, of course. This one does have some advantages. They come with a home shelter. So home shelter is quite important for families these days because you have a lot of things like kids' toys, textbooks, and all they want to store. This will be very useful. And the only thing that some people might find a challenge is that because of this layout, they are all tucked in the center of the side map. What will happen is that there is no windows for the kitchen as well as the toilets. So for cross-air ventilation, it might not be the most ideal. But I would say that so far, most of the projects I did, the 2-beders or some even the 3-beders with no windows. So long as you air out your toilets or open up the doors of your kitchen, right? Most of the time, there will be some form of air ventilation that still dries your kitchen and your toilets as well. But this layout, I find that it's one of the most efficient because with a dumbbell layout, the workspace is very small. It's reduced by a lot. So this is something that I feel that at 969 square feet, you have the most livable space for you and your family. And of course, you have the wide range or 3-bedroom premium. So the 3-bedroom premium all has warm shelters, of course, but the differences will be definitely the walkway. This depends on you. I would say that the walkway, for example, like this one is really very big, and also for this particular one is quite long. Sometimes people want to save more space for the hall area. They might go with the one that has a shorter foyer space. Then of course we have to come with our ranking. What's the best choice? My personal best choice and take will be the C2 unit, the one I talked about, the study area, because I find this study area, the flexibility is very important because we all have different life stages. Now maybe I am single, this space can be reused as study, but if I get married, I have a kid, then this can be a kid's playroom. But if I say I have a helper, then my yard doesn't have the bomb shelter, I can use this as a helper's room. So I think this is something that there's a lot of flexibility, and this will be my top choice.
Now we go into the 4-bedroom layout. Over here, we have the 4-bedroom deluxe, type 1 and type 2, 1184 square feet. So the main difference here, I would say, is the foyer.
Still have a longer foyer.
We have a pool facing,
as well as the park facing. But it seems like the Stack 22 is the only one that faces the pool.
And next, we have the 4-bedroom deluxe.
The biggest unit type that we have.
1356. Same thing, the foyer, one is smaller, one is bigger. And this unit has a landscape layout, and you have a 5-meter balcony.
Oh, that's why the placement of furniture will be a lot more efficient.
Much wider in this layout.
And one good thing is that these stacks are all facing the park.
So with that, our top choice for 4-bedroom will be the premium layout, the 1356, with the shorter
foyer area and landscape living room with a 5 meters balcony.
And because it's only 15 units, so chances are, unless you get a good queue number, by the time when it is your turn, these units are gone or they only left with the super high floors. I think if the price difference is not too big, it's still okay to go with the one with the longer foyer.
I think for Lentor right now, the most important thing is to understand that there's a limited supply of your 4-bedders and 5-bedders because the leftover units in the inventory in the whole Lentor, the 26 units that I spoke about, they are all the 1-bedder and 2-bedders. So if let's say if you want to get a 4-bedder that has an efficient layout, good frontage and everything, I think the 4 bedrooms are worth thinking because you are going back to about 2 years ago price lah. It's quite rare.
So with that, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to us. Just scan the QR code here. And we are more than happy to share a few more details.
Yeah, we come to the end of our presentation. The most important thing is you as a consumer needs to understand that Lentor is a very upcoming estate. And the fact is that right now Kingsford bought the land at a much affordable price. They might still benchmark within the past 2-3 years prices lah. So importantly is that as a buyer or as a consumer, you need to run on this way because the price protection for the next plot is 38 to 39%. So you're actually going to buy cheap. I think this is something that is worth considering. And also that we are the third harmonized project because the first two, like Lentor mentioned, Lentor Central Residences are all fully sold. So I think that if you really want to enter into the market, this is the best time.
And generally, I think Lentor is an area where people really buy for own stay.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's not for so much of speculation. But I think overall, it is still an area that you can consider.
We've come to the end of our sharing. Thank you for your time, and we will hope to see you in our next analysis video. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.